be in two places, and I had one person. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And I had one of my members ended up in the hospital, and that's up in Bedford, so I was just trying to get there. That one in Parliament and everything. So it is trying to just kind of balance, and I'm thinking, Lord, just continue to multiply my time.
Yeah.
Well, his time. It's not my time. It's the time he's given me. Well, yeah, it's very busy with pastoral care. It's very busy.
Well, I know I'm on the altar, so
Yeah. So I feel bad about that, but
yeah.
I think they met. The group must have met, but I didn't get any minutes. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have another meeting coming up here shortly.
Yeah, I hope so. It looks like it's 5:30. Ready to go. Okay, as soon as Mr. York sits down.
Are we on? I guess we are.
Waiting for Mr. York to sit down. Should I just get started? I'd like to call to order the April 24th, 2023 meeting of the Ravenna School District Board of Education. Can we have a roll call?
Mrs. Calhoun?
Here.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Here.
Mrs. Dennison?
Here.
Mrs. Seaman?
Here.
Mr. Tantamonio?
Mr. Tantamonio will probably be a couple minutes late.
And I'd also like to take a moment to introduce our student board members of the month. It looks like at this point we have one here. We have Matthew Boyd from Brown Middle School. Thank you so much for joining us, Matthew. And we'll talk to you a little later in the agenda. Okay, if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have a moment of silence. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No additions or corrections.
Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes. At this point, recognition of the public is, do we have anyone signed up to speak on agenda items?
We do not.
Okay. So then we can move right on to the Game Changer Awards recognition.
Great. Tonight we have several Game Changer Awards, and we are going to ask our staff members that are our Game Changers, our student Game Changers, to go over to where Mr. Ravenna is waving, and we're going to line up staff first, and then we will do, I think we do little to big, pre-K to high school. And our volunteer Game Changer just needs to hold on for a minute. You're not going to go with this crew. And what will happen is they'll go across the stage. You'll have opportunities to take pictures. And I'm going to read about all of them. Here comes Jordan. And I need the board to go up to the stage. And Mrs., you have, okay. Pam. All right, our first Game Changer is Mrs. Jackie Bungo, who is the speech language pathologist at West Main. Mrs. Bungo is an amazing educator, a team player, a colleague, not just the speech language pathologist. Her advocacy for her students' needs is unparalleled, and she acts many times as a support and sounding board for many different professionals and parents at the school. Her passion for continuing education and knowledge is infectious, And though we work outside of her field, we rely on her opinion and her long connections to the Ravenna community, where she has worked tirelessly for the majority of her career. Mrs. Bungo understands the need to see the big picture and invites different perspectives to discuss and work alongside to give our kids the best opportunities for growth possible. Congratulations, Mrs. Bungo. Our second staff recognition is Mrs. Bonnie Beetler, who is currently serving as the library aide at Brown Middle School. More recently, she was the library aide at the high school as well. Mrs. Beetler does an excellent job of managing the library, especially in regards to students' Chromebooks. And if you are a parent and are trying to keep up with the Chromebooks at your house, just imagine it tenfold in a school. She has gone above and beyond to help prepare and organize computers for state testing. She has made the space in the library a space that students want to be in, and it's their own special niche. Thank you, Mrs. Beetler. You are so much appreciated. Now we will move to our students, and first on the cute quotient is Jordan Jackson, our preschool game changer in Miss Zupancic's room. Jordan does a great job of following school rules, but more than that, he is very kind to others, always ready to help someone even without being asked. He may be quiet, but he is dependable, and he has grown so much throughout the school year into a great role model. Congratulations, Jordan. Next, from West Park Elementary School, we have Dawson Sigmund, whose teacher is Mrs. Edwards. Dawson knows the expectations and procedures in our classroom inside and out. He knows what is expected of him, and he rises to the occasion every time. Dawson is always asking how he can help his teachers and friends. This includes sharpening pencils, wiping off tables, and picking up trash to keep the classroom nice and tidy. I bet he does the very same thing at home. He is always thinking of others. Dawson is a great role model to his peers. Thank you, Dawson, for being respectful, responsible, and in control. Great job, Dawson. Next, from Williard, we have Daniel Bentham Ennen, a second grader with Miss Emily McGee. Daniel is an extremely respectful student. He works hard every day to do his best and learn the second grade concepts. He is responsible and does all of his homework assignments. When I was there at Williard, he made sure I went to all the right places in the building. Congratulations, Daniel. You are a true game changer. Next, from West Main, we have Willow Boyle, a fourth grader with Miss Dianchi. Willow comes in every day with a smile and a positive attitude. She gives 110% every single day, and she never gives up. When things are hard, she doesn't stop trying. Not only that, she encourages those around her and is a friend to every single person in the classroom. Congratulations, Willow, on being a game changer. Next, from Brown Middle School, we have Oliver Lau. Oliver comes in every day, comes into class with a bright smile on his face. He is always reliable for an answer, a hard and diligent worker. The student is everything a teacher wants in his class. He daily demonstrates what it means to be responsible, respectful, and in control, and we are proud to have Oliver as part of the Brown Middle School family. Congratulations, Oliver. And finally, from the high school, we have Layla Walton, who was nominated by 2 different teachers this time around. Layla is a lovely person. She epitomizes respectful, responsible, and in control. She often helps others in class with assignments while never missing her own work. And when working in Foods Lab, she is a leader and a role model. I was hoping you'd bring us some food. No? Layla is an absolutely outstanding student who is a ray of sunshine to all around her, teachers and classmates included. She's an excellent student. She has a work ethic that is one of the strongest I've ever seen. Academics aside, she is kind, creative, generous, and a friend to all. Layla sets the example of what a respectful, responsible, and in-control student looks like and is a true leader in the making. She is an amazing role model for her classmates to emulate. Most admirably, she does this all without the need for praise or attention. It just comes naturally. Congratulations, Layla Walton. Finally, if Mrs. Laura Wonderly would come up to the stage. Many of you might have seen on the marquee that April is National Volunteer Appreciation Month. And so this April, our board and our district leadership determined that we wanted to nominate Laura Wonderly as our Ravenna School District Volunteer Game Changer of the Year. So I have a lot to read, and she's going to be embarrassed, but she's just going to have to get over it. Laura Wonderly is the Ravenna School District's inaugural Volunteer of the Year Game Changer Award winner. As a Ravenna High School alumna, parent of 3 current Ravens, Adelina in 8th grade, Emma in 6th grade, and Bennett in 3rd grade, and recognized by the district along with her husband Matt Wonderly, teacher and coach at RHS, she was as part of the They Started Here campaign. Laura has kept her service local, and we are so appreciative. Laura Wonderly serves as the president of the PTO, representing all elementary schools, grades K through 4. She helps the athletic department with ticket sales, event setup, timing, and sorting medals and ribbons. She participated in the strategic planning initiative and was part of the community summits. As a founding member of the Raven Pack board, she makes sure that students in grades K through 4 have food even when they aren't in school. Finally, she's even the treasurer of the Levy Committee. She organizes a lot of PTO family events at the K through 4 level, such as bingo night, father-daughter dance, family movies at the Ravenna 7, Minute to Win It assemblies, the Father's Walk, Veterans Day breakfast, guest reader, elementary field day, and even does bus duty when she's asked. She's putting together the field day this year for grades K through 4, and she helps decorate buildings for special events such as the 100th Day of School, Camp Kindness, and Read Across America Week. She even makes sure to provide dinner for teachers at all 3 schools when it's conference night. She is by far one of the main community members we rely on. She will respond immediately when we need assistance. She will volunteer time as often as her busy schedule allows, and she has never said no to any idea that we have that will benefit our students. Even after her students have come and gone from each of the elementary schools, she is still active and helpful, not only to the schools but to the districts. She is a super amazing person who makes this all better. Congratulations, Laura Wonderly. That's worthy of a hug. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break and we're going to go out into the auditorium. We're going to take pictures of the game changers, the student board members, of Mrs. Wonderly. We'll have plenty of time for the parents to take the pictures, and then we'll reconvene in here for the rest of the meeting. Were you embarrassed enough?
Are there extras at the end? Sir. Somebody in the audience wanted to do extras.
I printed mine out.
Back on the table.
Oh, those.
On the back table? Yeah, I think so, because we have for all the extra back table.
There should be some. We had enough for everybody that was in the strategic planning committee. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So now if we could move on with the treasurer's update.
I'm going to combine my update with my reports later in the meeting.
Okay. So now we have a presentation, Dr. Hubert.
Yes, we are welcoming our representatives from Ashland University who facilitated the strategic planning initiative. This is Dr. Mark Burke Jr. He's going to present, and you can see on the screen is a one-pager, but he'll speak to that one-pager in his presentation.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Board of Education, for inviting us in. Again, my name is Mark Burke. I have Mrs. Amber Clay Mowery with me this evening, and a member of our team, Dr. Mace, was not able to be here tonight, but we work with Mid-Ohio Educational Service Center in Mansfield, Ohio, but we're doing some work through Ashland University. At each one of your tables, your stations, we put a one-page plan on a page that's also visible on the screen behind you, and then a strategic plan document. So we're going to spend a majority of our time on the plan on a page, and then make reference to the strategic plan that's with it at your station. So this has been an ongoing process for several months. This is kind of a culmination of the community surveys, the staff surveys, our opportunity to meet with your community groups, parents, business owners, and then with the strategic plan committee, which a few of you have been a part of, and I know a few of the members are here tonight. And the plan on a page that you see is really a summary of, or the plan that the strategic plan committee put together to see the work forward for this district for the next 5 years. And so the mission statement that the strategic plan, the Board of Education came up with is Ravenna, an inclusive learning community, embracing diversity and equipping all students for success, each child, every day, one step at a time. And throughout this process, we made it very clear to all the groups that we met with, the strategic plan committee that met, that this cannot just be words on a page. You actually have to live it every day for your students, or it's nothing more than just words on a page. And the committee that we worked with, the community groups that we had opportunity to work with, I think truly know and believe that this is the path, the mission that they see for the students of Ravenna. But as we continue to work with the committee and take feedback and notes from the meetings, it was kind of clear that the work really landed in 3 buckets, and those are the blue headers that you see on that plan on a page. Making students future ready, increasing or improving community outreach and engagement, and fostering a belief in all students at Ravenna. So those were kind of the 3 areas that a lot of the work seemed to land in every time that we came back to meet or we met at Mid-Ohio to discuss that we wanted our kids to be future ready. We wanted to reach out and engage our families differently. And we needed to build a belief in our students, but also build belief in themselves with that individual collective pride, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And then in the work, it really kind of got narrowed down to those 3 areas you see down the left-hand side of the page. We want all students to succeed. We want them to learn and achieve at high levels. And we want to instill a heart of love and service for their school, their community, and beyond. And so this was a nice way to kind of graphically represent the 3 areas of succeed, learn, love, and serve, and the 3 areas or focus areas of future ready, outreach, and belief in students. So in each area, there were kind of 3 goals. Now, it might look that there's a lot there, and there is a lot there, but this is a 5-year plan. So all of these things, and probably none of these things are going to be achieved next year. Again, this is a 5-year process. So if you look at Succeed under Future Ready, the goal is over the next 5 years that they're going to implement programming that ensures college and career readiness skills. Now, some of that is already being done. There's evidence of that in the high school entryway there with the 3 E's. Within that, the impact area that they're trying an impact area is college career pathways planning, service learning, internships, future ready skills, and communicating current offerings to students and parents. So those are just some of the areas of impact that the Succeed subcommittee is going to want to have an impact in over the next 5 years. Under outreach and engagement, they want to instill collective and individual pride in Ravenna. And some of the impact areas there are going to be impacting alumni through engagement, community partnerships, student recognition, and alumni recognition. And under Succeed and Belief for All Students, they provide a strong foundation of core academic content through a culture of support. So the areas of impact there will be staff training. There's going to be a number of areas that might result in staff and teacher trainings. There will also impact areas of trying to reduce barriers to access, and that could be access to academics, resources that might be available not only in the school but in the community. Expanding tutoring opportunities. They want to improve attendance through initiatives and programs and connect students' coursework with long-term goals. So those are the areas under Succeed that we're hoping, I won't say hoping, that we will have an impact in over the next 5 years. Under Learned and Future Ready, we're going to provide equitable access to programming aligned to student outcomes in academics, extracurriculars and co-curriculars, and post-high school success. And the impact areas there, again, will need some staff training that will be determined by those subcommittees. We're going to reduce or limit barriers to those services and supports. We're going to engage with community partners. We're going to create mentorships and mentoring services. And we're going to have parent and student educational opportunities. And we're going to have accountability for staff and students as far as trying to achieve this goal. In the area of outreach and engagement, they want to ensure equitable access to services provided at and through the school. And this will require a lot of community partners and building those strong communication lines. So the impact area here would be staff training, restorative practices, limiting barriers to services and supports, mentorship programs within the school day and after school, and incentivize, and inventive learning opportunities. And then under Belief for All Students, using data to make decisions, so using data decision making to gain an understanding of student needs, strengths, and interests to inform a challenging and accessible curriculum. And again, we're trying to make it challenging and accessible to all students with the impact areas, again, staff training, equitable resources for staff, limited barriers to services and supports, family and community involvement for tutoring services, and an expansion of the use of technology. And then under Love and Serve, in the area of Future Ready, to enhance equitable access to SEL services and supports, will require, the impact area requires staff training, restorative practices, student and parent support groups, community engagement, mentoring and counseling services, and again, limiting those barriers to services and supports. Under the Love and Serve, under the outreach and engagement, we're going to strengthen community connections through engagement and service. And those impact areas will be student and family engagement events, student community service projects, connection to community services and supports, and parent organizations. And that last one there, under Belief for All Belief in All Students, we're going to foster a culture of support focused on mental health, physical health, social and emotional learning, diversity, and cultural responsiveness. And that's going to impact area of staff training, safe spaces for meaningful dialogue, connections to services and supports, services infused within the educational spaces. So you can see there's a lot of connections, a lot of commonalities between some of these areas. And so there's going to be time when Succeed, Learn, and Love and Serve, those subcommittees can work together, especially when you're looking at building strong partnerships. I think some of the conversation we heard in some of those subgroup meetings were not asking or just connecting with partners, but I think some of the verbiage I heard in the meetings, and I wish I could give the credit to the group or the person that said it, is we're going to invest in our partners. We're going to invest in the people in our community that support our schools. We're not going to continue to just ask for things. We're going to truly invest our school in our community to build those stronger connections and those stronger supports and those partnerships. So the plan on the page really represents a lot of meetings, a lot of feedback, a lot of dialogue, and try to represent it in one place, in one space. And trying to identify the areas that we will, and I say the collective we, and I think those are there in the strategic plan that I say we, as being part of the group, are going to have an impact in with our students. So the one plan on the page is not going to change over the course of the next 5 years. That is the area of focus. Now, the document you have that's multiple pages, and we will send this to Dr. Hebert after the conclusion of tonight so that your team can continue to work. But you see the plan on the page, but as you get into the action plans, there are steps that each subcommittee has decided that they're going to start with. It is a working document. It is not a finished product. In our opinion, a strategic plan at let's say the conclusion of the subcommittee work should not have a finished plan. It's always a plan in process. It's always a plan in progression. And so your committees, and I'm not going to read all of them to you, it's there at your station, have listed activities, events, and action steps for the next school year, 1 year, maybe into the following year. So the goals, the action steps that you see listed in the multiple page document are really action steps for the 2023, 2024, and a few of the groups did make maybe 24, 25 action step or goal. But that's as far as you want to look ahead, because the work is in front of us. The work over the next year should be our focus. And so we will continue to work with the district from Ashland University in Mid-Ohio to work with your chairs of each subgroup. We will be on site still multiple times throughout the course of the first semester of next school year. We'll be here to help explain this and work with your staff at the return to school day that you'll have in August. And we'll continue to walk along with you on this journey. There's been a lot of work that's went into this. There's been a lot of conversation and a lot of agreement and disagreement. But ultimately to try to find that collective voice that this is what your community, your staff members, your administrators, and your leaders are looking, the path that we're looking to walk over the next 5 years. So I don't want to take too much more of your time other than to present this information to you and answer any questions you have. But before I open up to questions, just want to say that we really enjoy our time here. I think the last time we were here, we said we wish it wasn't an hour and half away because we really enjoy our time with your district and your team. And we've done this at other districts, but this is the one that I've really been excited and really proud of the work that I've seen the community and the staff groups do together. And really excited about where this is going to go, not only next year, but for the years after. And so with that, I will take any questions you have, and I'm happy to dive into any subgroup that you would like to talk about or discuss. Or if not tonight, welcome to come back and talk at a later time as well. So I'll open the floor to the Board of Education, Dr. Hebert, or any member of the board.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Burke? We're going to vote on this later on the agenda on whether my recommendation to adopt this plan moving forward. But if you have specific questions about anything, now's the time. I think it is important. We've been working on this not just a couple of times.
No, it's been I can't even remember back how far it's been, but
all the way back in August.
It has been a long process, but it's been a really good process. Again, it started with the staff and the community surveys, and then we hosted small in-person sessions with members of your community and your staff. And then we had a board work session, and then we hosted a number of full committee groups. So this has been worked since really August, yes, and will continue even next year and beyond. So yes, it's been a long process, but an enjoyable process.
So I don't know, do you all have any questions for Dr. Burke? Or, I mean, there's several members of the committee that are here, and I appreciate you all coming out. I think it's kind of cool to see your work all in a document like this, where you actually see the work that we've accomplished over the last 8 months, really. So, board members, do you have anything? A lot of the board members were part of that plan, so they know what they're looking at. All right, well, we appreciate you coming up and taking the time to present it to us. A few points later in the agenda is when it's on to be voted for approval.
Awesome.
Right, thank
Again,
you.
thank you so much, and we can't wait to continue this journey with you.
Thank you.
So now we'll move on to superintendent updates.
Thank you. My update, I am actually ceding my time to my people, and we're going to start with business operations. Mr. York will give a brief overview of what's happening in the land of facilities and operations, followed by Mr. Newcomb, who will speak for a few minutes on technology and what's been happening in that world. And then following that, Mrs. Burwell will talk about the progress that's being made at the middle school. So, Mr. York?
Thank you. So as I was instructed, brief and not yorked like usual with the fire hose. The areas that business operations encompasses, and of course, my notes are not responsive today. More fun than I can shake a stick at. Our building and facilities, transportation. I did not create a slideshow for you guys today, I'm sorry. And food services and centralized purchasing. And facilities, those include buildings, maintenance, landscaping, health and safety, all the stuff that happens inside and outside the building. Those are all things that I work with on a regular basis. The most high-profile thing that's been happening recently has been the Brown Middle School HVAC project, where we took the old univents and the old plumbing out of Brown Middle School, and we installed new plumbing, new univents, soon to be a new chiller for air conditioning in the building, and we have all that stuff going along. The project has moved along fairly well. We've had some bumps in the road. We've had some issues where we came across a lot more asbestos than we were expecting to find in places that we weren't looking for it, so we had to take care of that and abate that. And if you guys have ever seen an asbestos project, it's like living like a boy in a bubble. There's plastic everywhere, big vents drawing air in and out, showers to get clean on the way in and on the way out so that we don't contaminate anything. But we had asbestos issues. We had architecture issues with the building where the building's been built in multiple stages, so there were beams or you shouldn't have been beams, so we couldn't get pipes through those, so we had to work our way around those and things like that. We've had supply chain issues as well, where we've actually had to wait for stuff and then wait for stuff some more, and like right now, we're still waiting for the chiller to come for the air conditioning, and we keep anxiously asking for updates on that to try and get that here. We've also had some very good successes. We've had very good partners in this project. They've done excellent work in there. They've really cared about the building, really helped us go through it. If they saw something that we needed to pay attention to, they brought that to our attention. And currently, we are slightly below budget, so always a positive deal on that. So good thing on that. For food services is tasked with providing nutritious meals for our students. We provide breakfast and lunch for every one of our students if they want it. The meals have to fit within a certain amount of guidelines, and food services actually has to operate at cost so that there is no cost to the district, and so that currently is happening. We are in the black with the meals that we sell through our reimbursements, through working with government subsidiaries, doing things with consortium pricing and working local. We've done real well with food services on that aspect of it. Transportation is another area that I'm involved in. I help with the routing and stuff, and it's more of a supervisory thing because we have a transportation coordinator who's truly an expert at this. But at the same time, I'm working with her. I help work with parent issues or student issues or driver issues, and we do certainly have our fair share of those types of things. We work on that. But we also work on the future. And so like we're working with like student start and stop times for next year, working on eliminating the shuttles, working on timing the buses in a different way and changing the routes so that we'll be more efficient and more effective in how we work with things. We also look at our buses and work on a fleet that we try to find vehicles that are cost effective for us to run. Or are safe with like security systems. Those are something new that we're adding, some new camera systems to the system. So that's something that's also happens in the transportation world. In centralized purchasing, which is the other piece of my job, we do a lot of things. Most of the stuff that I'm buying is big ticket items. So like electricity. I work with different groups, government groups, local groups, try to anticipate where the money's going to go. How much are we spending for electricity or gas? We get those through group purchasing and generally get that below market rate. Right now I'm probably paying 1/3 of what most people are paying for natural gas. So we just got a good spot on that and we're able to buy that out. I also get partnerships with the city. So like we use our salt or our fuel we purchase through the city, so we get that at a municipal rate, which is again below market cost. And it's very effective for us because then they're buying a lot, we're buying a lot, there's some other people that go with them, so group purchasing really works out well for us. And we do the same thing for paper products like toilet paper, plates, paper towels, things like that. So it really encompasses a lot of different areas of stuff that we work with. So that's like the snapshot, the Reader's Digest version with a bunch of pages torn out of kind of what I do. Is there any general questions or things that I can kind of help or to explain?
Steve, you have any idea how much fuel you go through in a month or a semester or sometime?
I know to the gallon, but not without my computer working, which it's not doing right now. So I apologize. But yes, I can actually tell you exactly how much diesel we use, how much gasoline we use, how much gasoline is used for school buses versus lawnmowers or the trucks and things like that we do our service things. So yeah, I know that right up to the dime there on that. We track all of that, and we also track, are we ahead or behind on our budget for how much money we're spending on that as well. Right now we're ahead of our budget. We had a very comfortable winter this year, so that didn't hurt us in any way, shape, or form for gas, electric, fuel, or salt. I'm going to have a large salt deposit for next year that we won't have to buy next year.
How about the bus fleet? Where are we at on that?
So we have 27 buses and 5 vans that we use on a regular basis. A few of those buses are spares. We have a mixture of diesel and gasoline. We have 3 buses that are wheelchair capable and 2 vans that are wheelchair capable for handy-capable people when we need to be able to do transportation for those types of things. We're short bus drivers, like every school district in the state. And that's, if anybody here would like a job, I have a wonderful opportunity for you. I would train you and with excellent trainers, and it's a great place to work.
With the supply chain and other bumps and issues you've had with the Brown Middle School project, what's the updated project completion date or the estimate of that?
So the updated date is to be someplace between June and July. We should be done with everything. We did a walkthrough this evening. We do a regular checks on what's going on. So the heating system is fully running. The building automation system is fully running. We were walking around and actually looking at what the contractors have been working on the last few weeks as far as patching, fire stopping, some things that were, because this is a really, really large scale project. They were trying to guess how many miles of pipe we had put in at Brown, and I think it's actually in tens of miles of pipe that we put in at Brown. So every perforation through walls, fire stopped, everything has to get hung so many feet with hangers. We were checking all of those and looking for stress points and things like that. So we're moving along pretty good. What was kind of fun was a couple of the build rooms, the temperatures were different in the rooms. And as I was checking one out, the building went to unoccupied mode. And as I was looking at the thermostat, the temperature lowered on its own. It was a little spooky. Just because I've
Well,
never
the chiller is
Yeah.
scheduled to come in around June 11th.
Yes.
And so then the work to put the chiller, to make the chiller operational and inspected will take place after that.
Yeah, it should take about a week to 10 days, assuming no leaks are found or anything else. Right now, we have cold, the glycol running through the cold water loop so that they actually have got the system pressurized.
So Principal Burwell and her staff and students should come back to a comfortable building in the fall?
That is very much the plan.
That's the goal. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. York?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Next, we have Mr. Newcomb. This is all under operations of a sort, so this is Mr. Newcomb. He's going to speak to us for a few minutes about technology. I will say he has done a journeyman's job of getting Chromebooks, safety, anything that you could possibly imagine for technology. Second only to HVAC. Those two things I must talk about every single day, 25 hours a day. So, all you.
Okay, thanks for giving me the time today to just kind of talk about what we've been doing in technology. For the last year and a half, really, technology's kind of been shaped by two different things. One is technology in the classroom, keeping our Chromebook fleets running for the students in the classrooms, our classroom projectors, our smart boards. Our team really works hard to keep everything running for the teachers, for the students, so they have those opportunities in the classroom every day. We've been working hard with the curriculum department to expand some of our STEM offerings. We have 3D printing that occurs from now West Main, Brown Middle School, and Ravenna High School. We've kind of pushed that program that started just at the high school and have been expanding it down through the middle school and then the elementary schools as well. The teachers and the students have really become very involved with that, really enjoying those opportunities to work with robotics and STEMs in our classroom. Teachers have done a great job incorporating those things, and technology isn't always just a computer or a 3D printer. It can be something as simple as taking cardboard and designing castles or designing different entities to build out of just regular STEM supplies, popsicle sticks, cardboard, those kind of things as well. So it really kind of takes a different facet to look at it from all angles of technology and engineering in a STEM program. The kids have really enjoyed it. They've really been a great part of it, and I think it's been a really great addition to our classrooms and our buildings and our curriculum. The other aspects that we've been working with for the last year and a half is really school safety. The technology department, everything is going more, I guess, web-based and has a technology component to it. So working with Mr. York and different administrators in the district, we've applied for different safety grants for the last year and a half. We've gotten turned down for some, and we've gotten approved then at a later date. So we've really gotten 4 different technology safety awards as a district. So we've taken a lot of advancements in our physical safety for our district over the last year and a half. Over spring break this year, we installed new access control monitors at each building. It's a key swipe pin pad reader that the individuals come to the door, they can swipe in, the staff members swipe in, or as a visitor, they get to talk to the office and communicate. We had similar systems before, but the systems we had before were all isolated. So each building ran as its own system. We didn't have any kind of logging to determine who was going in the doors at certain times from a centralized database. So what the new system does, it's web-based, it's one system throughout the district, so we're able to see who's going into the doors, when they're going into those doors, and making sure everything is up to date. So if we have an employee resign, or an old code, or a card gets lost, we're able to disable that before. It's not like an old key that got lost and now that key is out forever. We don't have to rekey locks and do those type of things. So it gives us a more up-to-date way to manage the access to our buildings. This also gave us the opportunity to provide badges for our staff members, which you guys have today as well. These act as our access control. So these are actually get you into the buildings. You can hold them up to a reader or to those keypads and it will unlock the door for you and let you in. So teachers have access, we can keep track of those, coaches, all the entities through the district. So that was available through safety grant money that we're able to do. We also have installed vape detectors. They call them environmental sensors because they register sound, temperature, carbon dioxide, many different chemical makeups Cleaning supplies will set them off. So there's just some different things. So they measure a lot of different things, but we've installed those in our bathrooms at the high school and the middle school to be an extra aid to combat the vaping problem that's going around in the community, in a lot of communities in Ohio. That's been completed. So these are projects that are nearing completion. Another product that we have used with our safety grant money is we even started Neptune Navigate. This is our second year with this product. And this is a digital citizenship curriculum for students. It's a lot about cyber safety, staying safe online, protecting your information, knowing what kind of traps are out there for students, things to be wary of. So this is an online curriculum that we use for students from K to 12, that they work with their classroom. It's self-guided. In the upper levels, middle school and high school, the younger kids in the elementaries, it's teacher-led, and they go through that then each year. So that's another thing we've been able to supplement and bring into our district with safety grant money. And then finally, the last few phases are projects that are in progress. Again, done with safety grant money. We're starting to test out the IdentiKid visitor management system. If you've ever been to Maplewood, they have a different system, but it's the same concept, where any visitor coming into the building to stay will have to scan their driver's license to check against national databases or any protection order type information. We can load into that system to make sure that people that are in our schools are supposed to be there and we know who they are. That will be implemented for next school year. We're in the trial phase now with that. The next thing, we have received funding. We are going to add our classroom numbers to the exterior of all of our windows in the school district. We have our doors numbered, but we currently don't have our classroom numbered. So this is just a sample of what it could look like, a school in another district that has the classroom numbering in white on all their windows. So if there is an emergency instance in a situation, the police department, the fire department can see and have a better understanding of where in the building that classroom is. And then finally, we're going to upgrade our paging system, PA systems throughout the district as well. Most of the systems in the elementaries, especially in Brown, are from the 50s and 60s. We're getting quotes now to move to an IP-based system that will allow us to do messaging through the speaker as well. So if there's a fire instance, we can actually change the LED where the time is to give some visual indication of what's going on, what type of emergency it is. So those are all, again, web-based systems where they run off of our internet network through the district. That we hope to have done. That's going to be a big project. We hope to have it done by the start of next school year. Realistically, it's probably going to push into the fall a little bit as well to finish that up throughout. So we've got a lot going on in the technology department. It's really kind of, like I said, it's kind of been two-faceted between safety and then classroom technology the last year and a half. There's been a lot of safety grant money provided by the state and different resources, and we've been lucky enough to be awarded a lot of it over the last year. I think we've gotten 4 different instances of safety grant money, which has totaled over $500,000. So it's really been a great way to help bring some of our services and systems online in our district. Any questions?
The districts that you've looked at that are using the visitor management system, how do they handle individuals who do not have a photo ID?
Usually what we do is, if they're coming into the building, we push that out. But if you're just picking up your kid, it's an instance where we'll meet you at the door. They'll have policies and procedures for those people. What we're really looking for are the individuals that are coming in to volunteer and spend extended time into the building. We want to have those in. So it'll be the guest speakers that are in for, a half a day or those type of situations, more than just picking up the students.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Newcomb? He's got a lot going on in technology. All right, thank you. Next we have Mrs. Burwell. She's going to speak to us about Brown Middle School and all the great things that are happening there.
Brown Middle School, one of my favorite topics to talk about. So one of the things that we wanted to do this year was build a positive climate and culture. And we knew that started with our students, But then we needed to take a step back and then say, wait, no, it doesn't start with our students, but it actually starts with our staff. So each of those groups, we wanted to make sure that they felt connected to the school, they felt loved, and they felt like they were a part of the learning community. And we've started to do some things that we feel like have started to put that into place. You can see through these pictures some of the things that we've done throughout the school year, whether it was a Halloween dance, Spirit Weeks, or implementing field trips again, which many of our students did not get to experience because of good old COVID. We've brought those back, and our students are able to experience things that they haven't experienced before. PBIS has played a huge role. With our Randy Rewards, we've implemented a new system, a little bit different from how it was before, where we're looking at students being respectful, responsible, and in control. Our teachers have a full stack of all of these Randy Rewards, and every time they catch a student doing the right thing, they get one of these rewards. On Friday, they get to cash these in for wonderful prizes, whether it's food, Gatorade, they seem to love that, and of course the lovely Takis that for some reason every middle school loves. The bracelets, they can get a book, and I spoke at Rotary today, and I had one of the Rotary members ask me if we would be willing to accept gift cards monthly from her and her church. So we said absolutely. So that will be another added bonus that we will add to our PBIS program. But we are starting to see that our students are catching on to, if I do the right thing, I can be rewarded for that, and fun things come out of that. So we're starting to see the shift at our building. Here are some of the outcomes that we're noticing. Our discipline data is down. In-school suspensions from 21 to 22 to 22 to 23 is over a 100-person drop. So that's wonderful. Out-of-school suspensions 21 to 22 was 329. This year we're down to 173. Days for out-of-school suspensions 21-22 was 928, and now we're down to 519, or I think that says 619. But clearly you can see that our numbers are moving in the right direction. So we're pretty excited about that. Our chronic absenteeism rate is down 7.5% from last year. So we're seeing that our students are wanting to be in our building. We had one day where they had no idea that donuts were coming, but first period, me and my admin team, we visited all of the first period classrooms and we gave them donuts and we just thanked them for being here. So students who weren't there, they missed out on the donuts, and all that we heard was, man, I wish I would have been on time to get those donuts. Well, come next time and you'll get those golden donuts. Achievement is up with our benchmark assessment that we gave in February. The results were pretty astounding. We gave 10 benchmarks, 4 for ELA, 4 for math, and 2 for science. 6 of those benchmarks students scored at or above the state average. And that was in February, before they should have known everything that they needed to know. 4 were just a few points away from the state average. So none of them were far enough away that we needed to be concerned. So we're pretty excited about the things that we're seeing at Brown Middle School. And it's all because of our awesome teachers, the things that they're doing with our kids, and because our kids are more engaged than ever before. But we're not done yet, so we're already thinking about next year and what we can do for next year. So we are going to implement an advisory period. This will be every single day, the last period of the day. So during this time, we will have Mentorship Mondays. This is where they will be able to form relationships with a trusted adult in the building. They will have SEL lessons, where they will learn important character traits, what it means to be a Ravenna Raven. They'll form those important relationships. They'll understand how to cope as a middle schooler, because we all know those middle school years are the toughest years of your educational career. We will also have intervention and enrichment days during those middle days, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So any student who needs extra support, they will have teachers that they can go to get those interventions. But we don't want to leave out the students who maybe are not struggling and they could use that push or that challenge. So they will have enrichment opportunities during that time. And it won't just be in the core content areas, but it can even be in the arts. We may have students who are musically inclined, or they love to draw and paint. They will have those enrichment opportunities for that as well. Those will be in 3-week rotations, so a student is never stuck in interventions, but they can work their way out, which is a wonderful thing. On Fridays, we will have Passion Fridays. So our teachers have signed up for activities that they are really, really passionate about, and they will lead these days. So these are just a list of the few of the things that teachers have signed up to lead, and our students can choose which ones they want to do for 9 weeks, and then after 9 weeks, they can move on to another Passion Friday. Our ultimate goal, though, we never want to just be average. We want to be the best. So in Ohio, they have something that's called Ohio Schools to Watch, and it's targeted towards middle school grades 6 through 8. So as long as you have at least one of those grades in your building, and then on your report card, the school has to earn a 3-star or better on the achievement, progress, or gap closing component. This is our ultimate goal, is to be one of those schools that's on the Ohio Schools to Watch list. And we believe that we can get there. Just from the things that we're seeing already, we know that we're rowing in the right direction, and we will be on that list. So these are some of the great things that are happening at Brown Middle School. And so thank you so much for the time. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you so much for the data on the outcomes. To already have seen that, like as of February, like I am very optimistic, very happy, and you will be on that Ohio Schools to Watch list. I know it.
Yes.
I think another data point that you can share with them is enrollment for next year compared to enrollment for this year at Brown Middle School, because we are concerned about declining enrollment. So can you just talk through that real quickly so that they can get an idea of the enrollment numbers?
Sure. So currently in 5th grade, we have 135 students. Our 5th graders that will be coming in, so 4th graders coming into 5th grade, that number we're looking at is 154. So we're seeing that those numbers are starting to trend up, and we've already received calls from 5 parents from Biomed who want to know if they can come in and tour our school because they're looking at the prospect of making that leap. And one of the parents, her child has been at Biomed since 2nd grade. So really has not known the Ravenna schools, but she said that she's heard all of the great things that are happening at the middle school, and she's ready to bring her child back home. So we're excited about the numbers that we're seeing.
Very good.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Burwell? She's passionate about her subject matter.
Very good. We applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is my report to the board. How'd I do?
Good.
Yeah, I know. They did great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
So now we'll move on to reports of the board, starting with the Maplewood report from Mrs. Seaman.
All right, I'll keep this short. I attended the National Honor Society induction at Maplewood, and we had 4 students. 3 were already in the National Honor Society, and 1 of our students was inducted. They are Brianna Cathan, and she is in the dental assisting program. Marley Cummins, who's in cosmetology. Haley Trussell, who's in the early childhood education program. And Jordan Austin, who was inducted, is in the medical program. I also have just a couple things about some activities going on. On May 2nd, the Junior and the Senior Skills USA Awards Assembly will take place. Juniors at 9 a.m. in the cafeteria and seniors at 1:30 p.m. in the cafeteria. Senior Awards ceremony will be 7 o'clock on June 1st at the Kent State University Mack Center. And anybody who knows or has a friend graduating is welcome to come. There's plenty of space. And it is indoors, so you don't have to worry about rain. I have to say I was really impressed with the kids in the animal science program. We visited there on our last meeting. And the animal science room, if you ever get a chance to visit Maplewood, ask to see that. They have a huge space with lots of animals. The kids are learning all kinds of things that they can do. When they graduate, some of them will get their certification in being a technician. So I did see some of them are doing internships at different veterinary hospitals, and they're getting a lot of information that way and learning what the job is really like. And that's all I have for Maplewood.
Thank you.
So if we can move on to Parks and Recreation report from Mrs. Dennison.
Yes, and there are some upcoming events that I'd like to just share. Kids Summer Camp will run from June 5th through August 11th, and there's 2 sessions. Session 1 will be June 5th through July 7th, and Session 2 is July 10th through August 11th. And also, Safety Town will be offered again this year from June 27th through the 30th in the morning at West Park Schools. And if you want to register for these events, you just need to go on the website for Ravenna Parks and Recreation, and all the information is there. Thank you.
Reports of the treasurer.
Tonight we have a consent agenda for items 1 through 5. The first item are the minutes from the March 27th business meeting. The second item is a list of grants or donations, gifts and donations. Williard School received 10 Easter baskets filled with school supplies. Our Ravenna Elementary PTO donated $420 to West Park Elementary School for zoo trips, and $1,938 to Williard for field trips. And Raising Cane's donated $250 to the high school for Rise Up t-shirts. The next item on the treasurer's reports are the financial reports. You have your bank reconciliation, and we're balanced this month, the budget status report, the cash position report, and the check register report. And I just want to point out that we had a very good month in March. We received our final property tax settlement payment. So our reports look very positive at this point, 9 months of the 12 through the fiscal year. The approval of the then and now payments, there's one to Harbor Education, and you will see this was a mid-year contract to provide student services. Later in the agenda, you'll see a new service agreement for a placement in the LEAP program. And then approval of a food service grant that came out, again, out of the COVID-19 funding that the state received. This is a grant for $5,292.66. Each district in the state that received this award received $5,000 plus an additional $23.67 per enrolled student. The October 22 meal reimbursement claim data was used to determine enrollment for student count, and we received funding for 1,998 students. The funds are to be used for current or future expenses and are exclusively to purchase domestic food products and unprocessed or minimally processed food. So they provide some examples of how the grant funds can be used for milk and dairy products such as cheese and yogurt, fruits and vegetables, grains, pastas, rice, meat alternatives, and to, again, avoid processed foods, really stressing fresh foods or locally grown foods. So those are the 5 items on the treasurer's agenda this evening. Thank you.
Can we have a motion to approve the reports of the treasurer?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes. Reports and recommendations of the superintendent and other administrators.
Yes, first on the list is I'm asking that the board approve the resolution to adopt the strategic plan that you heard about earlier.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions or discussion? Just one, if this is going to be shared out and posted, I marked a page for them to check for a typo. just
Okay.
If it's going to be posted on there.
Okay, we'll send that to him.
Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next, Mrs. Lucat, the treasurer is requesting that the board approve a resolution approving an amendment to the compensation agreement with LG Chem. We had to fix some wording from an earlier agreement to,
Yeah, previously, we had approved a compensation agreement with LG Chem, and it prohibited the district from entering into any other compensation agreements, but the district has a freestanding compensation agreement with the city of Ravenna. So we're not sure if that was a typo or if it was intentional, but we went back to LG Chem and explained the prior agreement with the city and how the district benefits from that, and they were agreeable to amend the contract. So that's what you have this evening.
Can we have a motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
next, we're asking that you approve a resolution for a proposed employee severance plan. I'll let Ms. Lucat take over. You can ask, I don't know, do you want to go for the motion and then have the discussion, or how do you want to do it?
Sure.
Okay, can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
This is an opportunity for the district to offer a one-time employee severance plan to our teaching staff as an opportunity for a cost savings for our district financially. The resolution on the agenda this evening involves an agreement with a firm called Educators Preferred Corporation that provides administration and oversight of these plans. And I have recently reached out to 2 neighboring districts who have used Educators Preferred Corporation, EPC, and they did provide positive feedback regarding recent severance plans that they offered to their employees and the cost savings that they saw as a result of that. One district had 19 people retire based on this incentive, and the other had 20 retire. And of course, the cost savings is realized through retirements when employees at the higher end of the pay scale are replaced with employees at the lower end of the pay scale. And this corporation did a feasibility study for our district and determined over the next 8 years the district could save a total of about $2.5 million. And that was just based on the estimates of what they believe, based on probability of the number of retirements we would have. And they would actually come back after an opportunity for our employees to express an interest in the program. They would come back and run actual numbers. If we did not have a minimum number of people sign up for the program and we would not realize those savings, we could opt not to provide the plan to our employees. But again, you have on the agenda, the resolution involves an agreement with EPC. It involves a memorandum of understanding with the union that has already expressed some interest in doing this with the district. And again, we would be working with EPC to start reaching out to those employees who are eligible for the program. Are there any questions?
Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is, I'm asking that you approve an overnight field trip. The boys soccer team is requesting that the board approve they yearly go on an overnight trip somewhere. This year it's to Cleveland. They'll visit John Carroll, Cleveland State. It's an opportunity to visit colleges, do college visits, see what it's like to play a sport at the college level. They will be able to play some scrimmages, that kind of activities.
Can we have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next is the consent agenda, numbers 5 through 8. I'm asking that you approve a service agreement with Harbor Education that was referenced earlier for the LEAP program, a service agreement with Safely Home School, which is also a residential school treatment for our students, a service agreement with Summit Educational Service Center for $3,000 per student as needed for extended school year, which is also for our special education students. And then I'm asking that you qualify our seniors for graduation in May.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next, we have several personnel considerations. Administratively, I'm asking that you approve the 3-year contract for the Director of Curriculum Instruction for Mr. Lee Smith.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
We are also asking, as a consent agenda for 2 and 3, for numbers 2 and 3, to award 3-year contracts to 2 of our principals, Frank Schraube at West Park Elementary and Mr. J.T. Joseph Kuzer at Williard Elementary.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Guess we'll keep you guys, all 3 of you, for another year. Okay. For our certified, we're asking for a consent agenda, number 1 through 7. There are several items on here. There's a resignation of an intervention specialist at Brown Middle School. We are recommending to non-renew the ELL tutor, which we do every year, and then rehire at the start of next year. We're approving a recommendation to non-renew a long-term sub, which we also do yearly. We are looking to approve the employment for some continuing contracts of teachers that are listed below, and then these are 1-year limited contracts on number 5, several 1-year limited contracts for the upcoming year. Number 6 is to approve the employment of some 2-year limited contracts for the upcoming year, and number 7 is approving the employment of 3-year limited contracts for the upcoming year.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call?
I'm sorry, who motioned for that, Mrs. Seaman? Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next, we have a consent agenda for for C1 and 2 for some supplemental contracts. One is for athletics in Brown Middle School track, and one is for athletic workers, one athletic worker to be added to the list.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next, as we do every year, we're asking in advance for you to approve the employment of the extracurricular and co-curricular advisors for the next school year. This is the entire list, and that is one motion.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Now we are asking for the, to approve the employment and extracurricular and co-curricular advisors for band. And we pulled that out separately so that we would have one person abstain.
Can we have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wisniewski? Yes. Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Abstain.
Under the classified, I'm asking for a consent agenda for D1 and 2 to accept the resignation of a food handler and the resignation of a cook.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next is under transportation, asking its consent again for numbers 3 and 4, the retirement, resignation of one of our bus drivers, and the resignation of one of our mechanics.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Number 5, I'm asking that you accept the resignation of our attendance secretary at the high school.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
Next is the consent agendas for number 6, 7, and 8, employment contract for a custodian. It's actually, we're moving buildings. And then that also affects the second one is also a move in building. And number 8 is approving the disability application for one of our custodians.
Can we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes.
And finally, as a consent agenda 9, 10, and 11, the employment of an educational aide, which you will notice was someone that had resigned as a food handler, so they're staying with the district. The employment of a parent mentor that we pay through a grant, and some substitute employees for transportation and as an educational aide.
Can we have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dennison?
Yes.
Mr. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mr. Tantamonia?
Yes.
Mrs. Calhoun?
Yes. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on non-agenda items tonight?
We do not.
Okay. So now we will move on to one of my favorite parts of the meeting, our discussion with our student board member of the month. We have Matthew Boyd here with us from Brown Middle School. Thank you again, Matthew, for joining us and for sitting through the meeting. This is a wonderful opportunity. The student board members of the month can be the voice of the student population on any issues that matter to students. So first, I want to start with you introducing yourself. If you could just tell us a little about yourself, any extracurriculars that you're into, anything of interest to you, that would be great.
Hello, my name is Matthew Boyd. I was born here, obviously in Ohio, and I love going to school every day, seeing my teachers. I love math, I love reading, I love all the subjects. I'm very into math and reading. And I don't really know what else to say. I just love school, I guess.
That's a good thing.
That's great. So school board members have limited opportunities to gather input and feedback directly from students. But having you here, that gives us an opportunity. So I just want to hear from your perspective, what are the things that you enjoy about Ravenna School District, Brown Middle School in particular, since you're there right now?
The teachers are great. I feel like you guys made a great choice on who should be doing what and where they should be. Some teachers I'd like to give props. Ms. Schlarb and Mr. Rudick, they come in every day, they're super energetic, and they just make their students have a great time.
Thank you. So now, tough question. what are some of the things that we might need to look at changing or improving?
The hall exchanges. I feel like they're always super crowded. And it's like you made that system when COVID was out where you have to walk on the right side to split up students so they're not all congregating. But since COVID kind of ended, everybody doesn't care anymore. And it's like the road. You have to stay on the right side of the road. But nobody's doing that. And it's just like, it's like a car crash. So everybody's just in one group. I had this encounter a few days ago. I was trying to get to second period. And I was walking from my band class, and I ran into, it was like a wall of students. It was like a solid wall, and I couldn't get through them from like a minute. So I feel like you need the hall exchanges is one of the things.
I still have trauma from the hall exchanges at Brown, so I'm with you right there. But I'm sure Mrs. Burwell and her team will address it. I just have one more question for you, and then I will turn it over to the other board members. We talked about a lot tonight, but is there anything that you heard that you have questions about or want more information on, or you've heard enough?
I feel like I've heard enough, and I can read more into it and ask more questions if needed.
Thank you so much. So I'll open it up for questions from the other board members.
Matthew, what are you going to do when you get all done with school?
I haven't really decided that yet.
Any ideas?
I feel like I could go into technology.
That's the field. Do you do any extracurricular?
Band. Yeah,
What do you play?
trumpet.
Great. How big's your band?
It's all the 8th grade and 7th grade students because they had to merge it together because they were really small. There's like 4 8th grade students and 8 7th grade, maybe more.
Do you have any brothers or sisters in the district?
I do not.
Does anyone else have questions?
Any suggestions for getting more kids into band?
I feel like you could maybe put up posters. You could encourage the band teachers to ask more students and take more interactive things, do more interactive things.
What do you think about going to high school now? Does it give you any reason to be concerned?
No, I don't think so.
Great.
Do you have any questions for us?
I do not.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, and congratulations on being selected.
Thank you very much.
So now just a few informational items. The next Board of Education meeting will be Monday, May 22nd at 5:30 here at Ravenna High School in the auditorium. Graduation will be Tuesday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Portage Community Bank Stadium. The rain date is Wednesday, May 24th. The end of the fourth 9 weeks and the last day of school will be Thursday, May 25th. Records Day and the last day of school for teachers will be Friday, May 26th. Do we have need for an executive session?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So, do you want to do the deal about?
Oh, an executive session or private session of the board is controlled by the Sunshine Law and may only be used for special purposes outlined in the law. No action can be taken by the board during this executive session, so we will be meeting in accordance to the Ohio Revised Code.
So anyone who would like to leave, this ends the business portion of our meeting. And as Dr. Hebert said, when we come back, there's not going to be any action taken during executive session, so we will just resume the business session and then conclude the meeting. Thank you all.
Technology leaders.
Anybody ever voted no for the?
Right.